Hello and welcome to Sketch Together. This is part of a series on Sketch Basics. On this session, we're going to learn around 10 or probably 11 quick tips on Sketch. They are going to probably help you with your workflow and probably just make your work a little bit funner. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and see the first quick tip. The first quick tip is using Smart Guys, and this is pretty cool. So the first thing that you want to do is select a layer and then keep the Alt key pressed. And then you're going to reveal some Smart Guys when you hover over other elements. And this is giving you the distance between the element you have selected and the other elements that you're hovering over. So again, keep the Alt or Option key pressed when you do this. This is pretty handy. You can do it even here inside other elements like this, and then from here 60 pixels and 30 pixels on the right, and to the artboard is 340 on the right and 594 on the left. Pretty good. Okay, moving on. Tip number 2, rounded corners. Probably you already know about this. If you create a rectangle, you'll be able to edit the radius corners of it around here. And that's pretty basic, right? But sometimes you want to create shapes like this, where a corner radius like this is different from the one over here. So top left is different from the top right. And you can achieve that by actually making something, putting numbers with a slash. So for example, I can put 20/40/20/40. And then what this is going to do, copy this text, and I'm going to paste it over here. And what this do is that it gave it a 20 pixels over here, 40 pixels here, 20 here, and 40 here. So it starts like clockwise from top left. So it is like CSS actually too. So yeah, it's pretty, so let's try it on here. So I'm going to put 20/80/20/80. And now I created that. Another way to do this is by double clicking on the shape and then selecting a point. Now that I have this point selected, I can change it to, for example, 0. Or this one, and I want to change it to 200. There you go. So it's pretty cool, it's pretty handy, so be sure to check it out. Okay, moving on. Quick tip number 3, direct select. And sometimes you want to select a layer specifically inside a group. So for example, I have 2 groups here. I have a group, and then if I open it, I have another group called circles, and then inside that group I have the circles. And sometimes I just want to select one of those circles. I can do this by pressing Command click, and then boom, I just jump straight to that layer. I can do it here, and I can also press Command Shift, and then I can select multiple layers from multiple groups, from even different groups that are outside the main group. And this again comes in pretty handy when you're dealing with a big file with a lot of layers. So yeah, be sure to check. Okay, so moving on. Quick tip number 4, spacing and aligning. Probably you already know this one, but let's see if you remember everything. So for example, sometimes you want to align elements. For example, this one, I want to align it vertically. So I can do it over here. Over here, I can see, for example, this one is going to align vertically, and this one I want to align horizontally. I can just do it right here. And sometimes I also want to distribute evenly between the elements. So for example, here, I want to distribute vertically. I do it like that, and horizontally, I do it here, and boom, voila. It's pretty cool. And yeah, so go ahead and do that. Spacing and aligning. So something pretty cool too that you probably want to do is make your layers or groups exportable. So for example, I have this layer that's called poop, and I want to make it exportable. I can do that here on the bottom right of the inspector. I click on the plus, and now I can make it exportable, and I can export it from here. And I can select different formats that I want to, probably PNG or JPEG or I don't know, PDF, or if you're working with vectors, probably SVG. And yeah, for example, PNG, you can even select the resolution that you want to export it to. And sometimes you want to export multiple files, so you can press the plus here, and then you can select multiple versions of the same layer. Sometimes you want it to be in different formats or different resolutions. Automatically, it will give you different resolutions, and it will add a 2x when you export it. So let's try it out. I'm going to export this one. I'm going to export it here. And then if I open, I'm going to see that I have these files here. So I have 1x, 2x, and 3x, which is pretty cool. Okay, so that's it. And I'm going to actually undo all of this. And that's it. So let's go ahead and multiple duplicate. This is quick tip number 6. So sometimes you move one layer like this and you want to keep that same, you want to duplicate it with the same distance of the last time you copy it. So for example, this one, I press Alt and then I drag, and then I can create a copy of that same layer. So let's go ahead and do that. And then I press Command D, and then it does the same spacing that of the same element on the same direction. So it's pretty cool. Now, moving some elements to the front or to the back. Sometimes you can do this going backwards, for example, or going forward. But see, since this layer is all the way to the top, and I want to put it backwards, I have to press a lot of times here. Or I can do it over here if I move it, and then I put it there, and that's cool. But sometimes you actually want to do it right away. You know that this circle needs to be behind Burrito Cat. So how you do it, you just press Alt, and then see, look at here over here. See how the text changes? That means that when I press Alt, the options here, what it's going to do is going to be different. So it's going to move all the way to the back. And this one, all the way to the back. Oops, sorry. There you go. Let's do the same with this one, all the way to the back. So yeah, it's pretty handy sometimes when you just want to move something to the front or to the back. Something also really cool is math and fill. This is quick tip number 8. Sometimes you, for example, let's say that you have this is a width of 200, and somebody tells you, hey, you know what? It's actually 80. Can you make it 80 pixels bigger? Well, it's easy, right? 280. But sometimes they tell you, okay, now make it 60 pixels bigger. And it's like, oh crap, so how much is 280 by plus 60? Okay, it's 340. But you can actually do it right here. 280, the current width, and press plus, and then 60, and then bow, automatically does the math for you. I can also do, for example, hey, can you make it double the size? You can you can multiply it by 2, for example, and now it gives me the double of the size. Or I can do divisions too. So I divide it by 2, and there you go. Or I can divide it by 0.5, and then it actually multiplies. Ooh, that's cool, huh? Okay, cool. So yeah, you can, on anything, on position or on size or even on rotation, you can do math in those fields. Cool. Quick tip number 9: custom shapes, radius, and points. So as you see here, I didn't create a rectangle or a triangle. I'm actually creating a star or a polygon, and I can do that over here on shapes. I can add a star like this, or I can add a polygon like this. That's cool. And the cool thing too is that these have special values. So for example, here the star, it doesn't only have radius, it also has points. So I can control the number of points that I want the star to be. And I also can control the radius of how close it is to the center. So like that. And that's pretty cool. So you can create pretty cool shapes for your last minute sales. And for example, this one, it's a pentagon, but sorry, a hexagon. I want it to be a pentagon actually, or probably a square. I could make a square, but anyway. And so yeah, you can add as many points as you want over here, which is pretty cool. Okay, so let's go to tip number 10. And probably your developers or your programmer friends, or you if you're making your own page, you're gonna love this one. So from any layer, you can right click, and then you're going to be able to copy CSS styles. So for example here, copy CSS attribute. And what it did, it copied to my clipboard all the values of this element to CSS. So I'm going to try it over here. I'm going to paste and see how, let's zoom in so you can see what's going on. So it took in CSS, it transformed this into the linear gradient, and I also added a border, a shadow, and the color, and the border radius, all of that is here. And it even gave me a comment, so I know what to name this class. So if I later want to create a class with this style, I can totally do it on my text editor. And something cool too is that also you can do from multiple elements. So for example, I'm selecting super duper bananas and button blue. I copy the CSS attributes, and then I'm going to test them over here. I paste it, and as you can see, this one, oops, sorry, let me pick this layer. Oops, pick layer, I'm going to unlock it so you can see the whole thing. There you go. So as you can see, it gave me the code for all of those. Even on text, it gives me the font family, the font size, the color, the line height. It's pretty cool. Okay, so moving on, let's. This is probably something that you're not going to be using a lot, but it's cool and it's good to know. Sometimes, for example, if you're designing the display of an Apple Watch, or I don't know, something that has like a clock, probably, you can do it with rotate copies. So let's see how I created this little thing. So for example, this little piece, let me zoom in so we can see. I go to layer and I go to paths and I go to rotate copies. And now I can select, you know what, instead of 6, I'm going to say 8. And then it created those elements here. And then before I click outside, I can edit how I want to have these rotating copies put in relative to their original piece. So I'm going to put them right here. There you go. And now that I clicked outside, you see that I am not able to edit it anymore. They're just all individual layers. So yeah, it just created a group for me. Oh, actually created a path for me. So, and now I'm going to do the same with this circle. So I'm going to go to layer, paths, and rotate copies. I'm going to put 8 again. And now I can put them around there. There you go. And now I created the same thing that I created over here. Cool. So let's move on to the least but not last tip, text on path. So here something that probably you have been able to do on Photoshop or Illustrator if you're familiar with those programs. You probably sometimes you create a path and you want your text to be on the path. So it's really easy to do. You just, for example, I created this this path, this one over here. What I want to do is put that text here. So what I do is I select the text layer and I go to type and I say text on path, and it will automatically detect if there's a path around it. So if I move it outside, if I move that layer outside the path, then it's not working on the path. But if I create another path right here, it will try to oops. Anyway, sometimes it works a little bit weird. There you go. Okay, it's not working exactly what I want, how I want. Okay, apparently the text layer is over here. So be careful with that. Sometimes it does something really weird. But if you have a path just like this one over here, then it will just try to do it, and it will do its best. Hopefully you don't need to do that a lot, because then it will create something weird like this. It's pretty dumb actually. Anyway, yeah, that was the last quick tip for Sketch, and I hope you enjoyed them. Let's take a look at all of them. So you learned a lot just in one session.